She called her her daughter, but secretly plotted her downfall until one hidden secret turned everything upside down. Welcome, my friends, to another exciting movie journey with us. Get ready as we bring you the full gist about this popular Nigerian movie filled with morals and hidden lessons. But before we continue, make sure to subscribe because we have lots of interesting movie goodies coming your way. So grab your popcorn as I take you through this unforgettable experience. The movie begins with a pretty elegant lady named Diane, who is rushing out to work when her mother, Becky, stops her and insists she has breakfast first. At first, Diane refuses, but after much persuasion, she reluctantly agrees. The next day, Diane is busy working on her laptop when Becky brings her food. Diane thanks her, and Becky quietly leaves the room while Diane begins eating. One day, Diane returns from work looking sad. Becky asks her what's wrong, and Diane reveals that she lost her flash drive and could lose her job because of it. Becky calms her down and encourages her. Together, they search for the flash drive until Becky finds it at the edge of the bed. She urges Diane to call her boss and reschedule the presentation. When Diane begins to doubt again, Becky strengthens her faith before leaving the room. Soon after, Diane's boyfriend, Eric, visits her house. She isn't home, but Becky welcomes him and offers him a drink. Later, Diane and Eric sit together in the living room, enjoying each other's company. Eric compliments Becky as they continue watching TV. But here's the twist. Who really is Becky, and what exactly is her plan? One morning, a beautiful lady named Jess is seen pacing by the roadside. Her car had broken down. Coincidentally, Eric, who was about to drive out, gets blocked by her car. He gets down to help her, and after fixing the car, she introduces herself as Jess while still holding his hand a little too long. They part ways. Not long after, Jess visits Eric's apartment with food and gifts. His favorite dish, surprisingly. Eric asks how she knew, and she jokingly says she just figured he'd like it. While Eric steps in to get plates, Jess watches him lustfully. After he eats, she takes the plate, makes advances, kisses him, and they sleep together. The following day, Jess returns to Eric's house, saying she was bored and couldn't stop thinking about him. Eric, in the heat of the moment, says he had dreamt about her too. They kiss and make love again. Later, Diane returns from work and is welcomed by Becky. As they talk, Becky asks when Diane and Eric would be walking down the aisle. Diane says next year, to which Becky expresses surprise, but Diane explains that next year is only a few months away. She then walks away. One day, Eric is waiting outside Diane's house. She joins him, and as they're about to leave, she casually mentions visiting his place the previous day and meeting Jess, who claimed to be his project manager. Eric, visibly shaken, stammers, asking what Diane meant. Diane says Jess seems nice, and they drive off together. Could Diane be unknowingly walking into a heartbreak that's been carefully planned? The next day, Eric angrily confronts Jess for telling Diane they were colleagues and demands to know how she got into his apartment. Jess reveals she duplicated his keys. Furious, Eric demands the keys and tells her to leave. Jess refuses and storms out. Viewers, what would you do if you were in Diane's shoes? Would you trust Eric or start digging deeper? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. One morning, as Diane was getting ready to go out with Eric, Becky walked into her room holding a birthday cake, singing and wishing her a happy birthday. They hugged warmly, and Becky used the moment to share updates about her farm. Later that day, Diane was seen pacing in the living room, trying to reach Eric on the phone, but his line wasn't going through. She decided to take her birthday celebration to his place. But soon after, Diane returned to her room in tears. Becky came in and asked what was wrong. Diane revealed that she saw Eric standing too close to another woman at his place. He had cheated on her. Becky consoled her and promised to deal with Eric herself. The next day, Eric came to Diane's house, apologizing for what had happened. He claimed that Jess had a habit of dressing seductively, even at work. After much pleading and persuasion, Diane forgave him. But guys, do you think this apology is enough, or is Diane being too forgiving? Later that day, when Eric got home, he was surprised to see Jess already in his house, setting dishes on the table, this time with a different motive. Though he had warned her not to come over again, Jess handed him a document stating she was pregnant with his child. Furious, Eric told her to take the pregnancy to whoever was responsible, but Jess insisted it was his and threatened to expose the situation at work. Eric, now shaken, pleaded for time to think. Jess left but gave him a week to decide. One day, Jess was on the phone with Eric, reminding him of their maternity appointment. Eric, frustrated, hung up on her. Jess then called someone else. Moments later, a young, handsome man named Martins arrived at her place and was impressed by how she had transformed the apartment. As they snacked on fruit together, Martins shared that he would soon be relocating to Canada. Jess was surprised, but he promised to help her relocate as well. They had a joyful time together. The next day, Martins was on a phone call when Jess came downstairs to get water. He quickly changed the conversation. When Jess asked who he was talking to, he lied, saying it was his travel agent. Jess smiled and kissed him, but her body language revealed something was off. That night, while Martins was asleep, Jess unlocked his phone using facial recognition. She went to the living room and called Martins' fiancée, Daniela, telling her that Martins was currently in her bed. She accused Daniela of trying to steal other people's men. Jess then returned to the bedroom, took a selfie with the sleeping Martins, and sent it to Daniela. The next morning, Martins came downstairs, furious. He shouted at Jess for what she had done. Jess told him she had overheard all his conversations with Daniela and pretended to be asleep. She demanded that he cancel his engagement and instead make her his sugar mummy, claiming he was too broke to marry Daniela. Martins stormed out, saying he was done, while Jess laughed. Later, while Martins was packing his things to leave Jess's house, she tried to manipulate him into calling off his engagement. Martins refused and warned her never to go near his fiancée or any member of her family. He threatened to expose her if she tried anything. Meanwhile, in another scene, Diane was seen looking worried in her room. Becky entered and asked what was wrong. Diane explained that Eric had been acting strangely and was avoiding her. He even changed the locks to his apartment without informing her. She said that whenever she tried to confront him, he would lash out. Becky became furious and wanted to confront Eric, but Diane stopped her, saying she would handle it herself. The next day, Eric came to apologize for his recent behavior. He blamed it on work stress. Diane forgave him once more. He then handed her a new set of keys to his apartment and hugged her. One day, while Eric was in his living room, Jess came to his place and tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Eric had changed the locks. He mocked her through the door, but when Jess mentioned going to Diane's house for a heart-to-heart conversation, Eric panicked and rushed to open the door. Inside, Jess confronted him for changing the locks. Eric asked for more time to think things through, but Jess gave him only one more day before storming out, leaving Eric furious and worried. So viewers, do you think Diane will ever discover the whole truth? And when she does, how do you think she'll react? Drop your thoughts in the comments. That same day, while Eric and Diane were together, Eric suggested they go on a vacation. But Diane told him her leave wouldn't start until next month because she was still on probation at work. Eric jokingly told her to quit her job and join her mother on the farm. She laughed and said she'd think about it, and they shared a light moment together. Later, Diane and Becky were in the living room when Becky told Diane she was getting her a new Mercedes-Benz since her current car was faulty. Diane thanked her and also mentioned her plans to go on a weekend vacation with Eric. The next day, Eric was coming down the stairs when he tripped over some boxes and fell. Suddenly, Jess appeared from one of the rooms. Eric was shocked to see her in his apartment and demanded to know how she got in. Jess confidently told him that even if he changed the locks 100 times, she would still find her way in. She then claimed she had come to take her rightful place in his house. When Eric tried to call the police, Jess dared him to also explain to them how he had refused to take responsibility after putting her in a family way. Eric was devastated. But could things get even worse for Eric? You're not ready for what comes next. The following day, Eric was seen lying down, looking deeply troubled. Meanwhile, Diane was in her room, crying. She screamed out in frustration, prompting Becky to rush in and ask what was wrong. Diane, sobbing, told her that Eric was expecting a child with another woman. Becky was taken aback by the shocking news and quickly tried to comfort her. But here comes the most unexpected twist. One day, Eric went over to Diane's house. As he approached, he overheard a conversation between Jess and Diane's mother, Becky. They were plotting to set him up against Diane. Eric stood in disbelief, devastated by what he had just heard, and quietly walked away. Now, viewers, what would you do if you discovered the people you trusted the most were secretly working against you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The next day, Eric went again to Diane's place. This time, he tried pleading with her, but it fell on deaf ears, and she walked inside. Eric, however, was persistent and followed her in. He opened up to her, saying that it was Diane's mother who had set him up. Diane didn't believe him at first, until Becky came out. When Eric confronted Becky and revealed that he had overheard her conversation with Jess, Diane begged her to deny it. Guys, you won't believe this twist. Becky finally confessed. She told Diane that she was not her biological mother and that Diane's real mother had died 20 years ago. She revealed she had only raised Diane to get revenge for what Diane's biological parents did to her. A flashback followed. When they were younger, Diane's father, Prince Will, had denied getting Becky pregnant. He told her that his fiancée was already expecting his child and ordered her to get rid of the pregnancy. Becky swore she would one day take revenge. Later, she was seen lying down in pain, holding her stomach as her friend brought her tea. She cursed Prince Will, blaming him for the complications that made her unable to conceive again. One day, Becky's friend visited and asked why she agreed to take care of Prince Will's daughter. Becky replied that doing so would give her enough time to plan her revenge. She also revealed that Prince Will had once proposed to her. She then shared how she poisoned him and watched him die. Back in the present, Diane called Becky evil. Becky went on to reveal that she also orchestrated all the problems Diane had been facing at work. Diane, devastated and heartbroken, wept bitterly as Eric consoled her and took her away. That same day, Becky and Jess were seen rejoicing over their success in ruining Diane. Becky assured Jess that once she was done with Diane, Eric would come back and marry Jess. Shortly after, the police arrived and arrested Becky for her involvement in Prince Will's death. The next day, Eric met with Diane, apologizing for everything that had happened. He begged her for another chance, hoping they could go back to how things used to be. When Diane asked about Jess and her pregnancy, Eric told her he would take responsibility for the child, but had no intentions of being with Jess. Diane, however, rejected his proposal, saying she didn't want to go through such pain again. The moral lesson of this movie is, not everyone who calls you family truly cares for you. Betrayal can come from those closest to you, but healing begins when you choose yourself and walk away from what hurts. Be careful who you trust with your heart, your home, and your life. And that's it, guys. Thank you for joining us in this very exciting episode. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification bell for more interesting and fascinating stories like this. Till we meet again, goodbye.